YNR Spoilers Weekly Update May 11th in Genoa City. The air this week feels heavier than usual, like something big is building just beneath the surface. Nothing is calm, nothing is simple, and every conversation seems to carry a hidden edge that could explode at any moment. At the center of the early week tension is PHYLLIS Summers. She's back in familiar territory, strategizing, watching, and quietly setting pieces into motion that nobody fully understands yet. PHYLLIS has never been someone to sit on the sidelines, and right now she's once again playing a dangerous game. There's a plan forming in her mind, something sneaky, something calculated, and something that could shift power in Genoa City if it works. But PHYLLIS isn't operating alone in a vacuum. Across town, tensions are already rising with Christine Blair. The history between these two women is long, complicated, and filled with unfinished business. And when they cross paths this week, it's not friendly. Words get sharp. Emotions run high. And neither one is willing to back down. What starts as a verbal clash could easily spiral into something far more damaging if it continues. Meanwhile, Nick Newman is fighting a battle that nobody fully sees from the outside. On the surface, he's trying to stay composed, trying to handle responsibilities, trying to be steady. But underneath, things are much more fragile. Nick is struggling with temptation in a way that feels very real and very personal. There are moments when the pressure builds so strongly that he's almost ready to give in just for relief. It's not just stress, it's a deeper internal fight that's becoming harder to control with each passing day. And the people around him are beginning to notice cracks. Adam Newman doesn't hold back when he confronts Nick. Their dynamic has never been easy, and this moment is no different. Adam pushes, questions, and challenges him directly. It feels less like concern and more like pressure, forcing Nick to face things he may not be ready to fully admit out loud. But the real turning point comes when Victor Newman steps in. Victor doesn't approach the situation with softness. He brings authority, control, and a blunt reality check that hits hard. For Victor, this isn't just about concern, it's about consequences, reputation, and survival. He makes it very clear that Nick cannot afford to slip, not now, not ever. The message is simple: get it together or risk losing everything. At the same time, Nikki Newman finds herself carrying information that she can't keep inside. She ends up revealing Nick's addiction struggles to Jack Abbott, and that moment changes the emotional temperature of the situation again. Jack reacts with concern, but also seriousness. This isn't gossip, it's real, and it has real consequences for multiple families in Genoa City. As all of this unfolds, another quiet but important shift is happening in the background. Lily Winters is beginning to raise concern among those closest to her. Her behavior is becoming more unpredictable, more emotionally driven, and harder to interpret. Devin Winters, in particular, starts sensing that something isn't right. He knows Lily well enough to recognize when she's operating from emotion instead of logic. And this week, those instincts are going off like alarm bells. But Lily isn't focused on warnings or consequences. Her attention is elsewhere, tied deeply to Kane Ashby and a situation that could change everything. What she believes is the right path forward may actually lead her straight into danger, but in the moment, she's too emotionally invested to step back. And just like that, the stage is set. PHYLLIS is plotting. Nick is struggling. Victor is tightening control. And Lily is heading toward a risky emotional decision that could pull multiple lives into chaos. But this is only the beginning of the week in Genoa City, and things are only going to get more complicated from here. As the week continues in Genoa City, the tension doesn't settle, it only deepens. What once felt like separate problems across town is now starting to connect in subtle, dangerous ways. PHYLLIS Summers remains in the background, but her influence is anything but quiet. She is still carefully watching everything unfold around her, especially the shifting power dynamics within the Newman circle. PHYLLIS is not rushing her next move. Instead, she's calculating, waiting for the perfect moment when everyone else is distracted enough to make a bold strike. And distractions are everywhere right now. Nick Newman's situation is becoming more fragile by the day. The internal struggle he's dealing with isn't something that can be hidden forever. There are moments where he seems composed, even in control, but they don't last long. The pressure builds quickly, and when it does, it becomes almost overwhelming for him to manage alone. Those close to him are beginning to see changes in his behavior, even if they don't fully understand what's driving it. Nick is trying to hold things together, but emotionally, he is walking a very thin line. Every decision now carries weight, and every temptation feels louder than the last. Adam Newman continues to circle this situation like he's trying to understand it from every angle. When he confronts Nick again, it's not just about judgment, it's about pressure, testing limits, and forcing honesty. Adam has always had a complicated relationship with Nick, and this week, that complexity turns into something sharper, more direct. But it's Victor Newman who ultimately raises the stakes even higher. Victor doesn't believe in hesitation. For him, problems must be controlled, managed, or removed entirely. Watching Nick struggle is not something he can ignore, and he makes that very clear. His approach is firm, even cold at times, but underneath it is a deep concern mixed with frustration. Victor knows what failure can cost in their world, and he refuses to let Nick become an example of that. Meanwhile, Nikki Newman finds herself pulled into a position she didn't want to be in. Carrying information about Nick's condition weighs heavily on her, but she chooses to share it with Jack Abbott. That decision immediately expands the circle of awareness, bringing another powerful player into the emotional equation. Jack's reaction is controlled, but serious. This isn't something he can brush off. It affects business relationships, family dynamics, and long-standing rivalries. In Genoa City, even personal struggles never stay personal for long. Elsewhere, Lily Winters is moving further into emotionally charged territory. Her decisions are becoming more impulsive, driven by a sense of urgency rather than caution. And at the center of that emotional storm is Kane Ashby. Lily believes she is acting for the right reasons, especially when it comes to Malcolm's situation and the possibility of saving his life. But the path she is choosing is not without risk. In fact, it may already be crossing boundaries that could lead to serious consequences if things go wrong. Devon Winters continues to watch Lily closely. He knows her patterns, her emotional triggers, and her tendency to act first and question later. And right now, everything in him is signaling concern. Devon fears that Lily's involvement with Kane could spiral into something legally and personally damaging, not just for her, but for everyone connected to her. At the same time, Kane is becoming more deeply involved in Lily's world again. Their connection is complicated, filled with history, emotion, and unresolved feelings. As they spend more time together, the emotional distance between them begins to shrink. The bond that once defined them doesn't feel completely gone, it feels reawakened. There's an intensity growing between them, one that neither of them seems fully ready to confront or control. Whether it leads to comfort, conflict, or something more romantic remains uncertain, but the emotional pull is undeniable. And while all of this unfolds, Victor is still working behind the scenes to tighten his grip on the situation involving Matt Clark and the broader threats surrounding Genoa City. His focus is shifting toward control, protection, and elimination of risk. And when Victor moves with purpose, the entire city tends to feel the impact. By the end of this phase of the week, one thing is clear: no one is operating in isolation anymore. Nick is under pressure. Phyllis is plotting. Lily is taking risks. And Victor is preparing for a larger confrontation that may pull all of these storylines together sooner than anyone expects. And in Genoa City, when the pieces start connecting like this, it usually means the explosion is not far away. As the week moves forward in Genoa City, the emotional pressure that's been building across multiple storylines begins to spill into action. Nothing stays contained anymore. Every decision starts affecting someone else, and every secret feels closer to being exposed. Phyllis Summers is still operating in the shadows, but her strategy is becoming more defined. She's watching the Newmans carefully, especially as Victor Newman increases his involvement in the unfolding situation. Phyllis understands one thing very well: when Victor is distracted, opportunities open up. And right now, Victor is juggling multiple concerns at once, including the growing instability surrounding Nick and the developing threat tied to Matt Clark. Phyllis doesn't rush. She never does when she's planning something big. Instead, she studies reactions, timing, and emotional weak points. There's a clear sense that she's preparing to position herself in a way that gives her leverage, whether that's financial, personal, or strategic remains to be seen. Meanwhile, Nick Newman continues to struggle internally. His battle is no longer something that can be easily hidden behind calm conversations or forced smiles. The temptation he's fighting grows stronger during moments of stress, especially when he feels cornered or overwhelmed. There are brief moments where Nick appears to regain control, but they don't last long. It's becoming clear that this isn't just a passing phase, it's a serious personal crisis that could spiral if the right support system doesn't hold. Adam Newman remains closely involved in this situation, and his approach is still unpredictable. At times, he seems almost analytical, trying to understand Nick's breaking points. At other times, he's confrontational, pushing emotional buttons that Nick would rather avoid. But the real pressure still comes from Victor Newman. Victor is no longer just observing, he is actively intervening. His priority is control, stability, and protecting the Newman name from public or internal collapse. He makes decisions quickly, without hesitation, and expects compliance rather than debate. For Nick, this creates a complicated emotional dynamic, support mixed with pressure, concern mixed with authority. Nikki Newman, caught in the middle, continues to carry emotional weight from all sides. Her decision to involve Jack Abbott has widened the circle of awareness, and now she's dealing with the consequences of that choice. Jack is not someone who ignores sensitive information, and his involvement brings an additional layer of tension between the Abbott and Newman families. Jack's concern is genuine, but so is his awareness that situations like this often expand beyond personal boundaries and into business or legacy implications. In Genoa City, even compassion comes with strategy. At the same time, Lily Winters is stepping deeper into risky emotional territory. Her connection with Kane Ashby is no longer just about shared history, it's becoming active, present, and emotionally charged. Lily believes she is making decisions rooted in care and responsibility, especially regarding Malcolm's situation and Kane's potential role in helping save him. But Devon Winters sees something different. From Devon's perspective, Lily is becoming too emotionally invested in a situation that is already unstable. He notices the way she justifies her decisions, the urgency in her actions, and the way she seems willing to bypass caution if it means achieving what she believes is the right outcome. Devon's concern is not just theoretical, it is growing into genuine fear that Lily may face legal or personal consequences if things go wrong. And in Genoa City, good intentions are rarely enough to protect someone from fallout. Meanwhile, Kane and Lily's dynamic continues to evolve. Their interactions are becoming more frequent, more personal, and more emotionally layered. There is history between them that cannot be ignored, and that history is beginning to resurface in subtle but powerful ways. Moments of tension shift into moments of understanding. Conversations that begin with conflict slowly transition into emotional vulnerability. And while neither of them is openly acknowledging where this is heading, the chemistry between them is becoming increasingly difficult to deny. Elsewhere in Genoa City, Victor's attention is still partially locked on the larger threat landscape, particularly anything connected to Matt Clark and the instability surrounding recent events. Victor is beginning to move pieces into place for what looks like a more aggressive strategy. When Victor takes control of a situation like this, it rarely stays contained for long. And as all of this unfolds, Claire Newman's storyline begins to run parallel on a different emotional track. Her time with Holden Novak is starting to reveal new layers of trust and connection. What began as a supportive trip is slowly evolving into something more personal. Claire is beginning to see Holden in a different light, especially as he opens up about his past and the complicated history involving Audra Charles. The deeper she understands his story, the more emotionally connected she becomes. Holden, in turn, seems increasingly comfortable with Claire's presence. There is a growing sense of trust between them, and possibly even the beginning of something more meaningful. By the end of this segment of the week, Genoa City is no longer operating in separate storylines. Everything is starting to intersect emotionally, strategically, and dangerously. Nick is still fighting his inner battle. PHYLLIS is positioning herself for opportunity. Lily is walking a risky emotional path. Victor is tightening control. And across town, new relationships are beginning to form in unexpected ways. And when Genoa City starts aligning like this, it rarely ends quietly. As Genoa City moves deeper into the week, the tension that's been building beneath the surface starts breaking through in unexpected ways. What once felt like separate emotional battles is now turning into a web of intersecting choices, where every character's decision carries consequences far beyond what they intended. Phyllis Summers remains firmly in strategy mode. She's not acting impulsively, she's watching, waiting, and recalculating based on every shift happening around her. With Victor Newman pulling focus toward a larger manhunt involving Matt Clark, Phyllis sees an opportunity forming in the distraction. Victor's attention is split, but his energy is intense. He is not just reacting anymore, he's initiating. His focus on control and containment is becoming more aggressive, and those around him can feel the shift. When Victor starts moving pieces into place, it usually means he's preparing for something big, something final, and something that will not leave room for negotiation. And Phyllis is paying close attention to that. Meanwhile, Nick Newman is reaching a point where internal pressure is becoming harder to hide. His struggle is no longer subtle. Even when he tries to maintain composure in public, there are cracks, small but noticeable moments where his focus slips, where his responses are delayed, where something deeper is clearly weighing on him. It's not just addiction, it's exhaustion, guilt, and emotional overload all mixing together. Adam Newman continues to orbit this situation, sometimes appearing supportive and other times pushing directly against Nick's emotional defenses. Their interactions feel like a constant test of control versus vulnerability. Adam's presence alone seems to trigger reactions in Nick that he is struggling to manage. But it's Victor's influence that continues to dominate the emotional landscape. Victor doesn't allow weakness to linger. His approach is direct, firm, and often uncomfortable. When he speaks to Nick, it is not just as a father, it is as someone who understands the consequences of failure in a world where image and power are everything. His message remains consistent: regain control, or risk losing everything you've built. Nikki Newman remains deeply conflicted in the middle of all this. Her decision to confide in Jack Abbott continues to ripple outward, expanding awareness of Nick's situation into areas she may not have fully anticipated. Jack listens carefully, processing the information with a seriousness that goes beyond sympathy. In Genoa City, information like this always carries weight. It can shift alliances, business decisions, and long-term strategies. At the same time, Lily Winters is moving further down a path driven by emotion rather than caution. Her involvement with Kane Ashby is becoming increasingly personal. What began as concern for Malcolm and a desire to help is now evolving into something more complicated and emotionally charged. Lily believes she is doing what is necessary. Her focus is on saving a life and making the right choices in a high-pressure situation. But those around her are starting to see the situation differently. Devin Winters, in particular, is becoming more vocal in his concern. He knows Lily well enough to recognize when she is emotionally committed to a decision, even if it carries risk. And right now, everything about her behavior suggests she is willing to take that risk without fully considering the consequences. Devin's worry is not just about Lily's intentions, it's about what happens if things go wrong legally, emotionally, or personally. In Genoa City, even the best intentions can lead to irreversible damage. Meanwhile, Lily and Kane's connection continues to deepen. Their conversations are no longer just about logistics or shared concerns, they are becoming more personal, more reflective, and more emotionally revealing. There are moments where old memories surface naturally between them, moments where past feelings seem to resurface without either of them fully acknowledging it. The chemistry between them is not explosive, it is gradual, layered, and emotionally complex. But it is undeniable. Elsewhere, Claire Newman's time with Holden Novak continues to shift in tone. What started as companionship is becoming something more emotionally engaging. Holden is beginning to open up about parts of his past that he has never shared easily, including the complicated emotional history tied to Audra Charles. Claire listens closely, and the more she learns, the more her perception of Holden changes. She is beginning to see him not just as a companion on a trip, but as someone with depth, complexity, and emotional weight. Holden, in turn, appears increasingly comfortable around Claire. There is trust developing between them, and with that trust comes emotional vulnerability. Their connection is no longer just situational, it feels like it is evolving into something more personal, possibly even romantic. Back in the larger picture of Genoa City, Victor's efforts to locate Matt Clark continue to intensify. The atmosphere surrounding this storyline is becoming more urgent, with multiple characters now indirectly affected by the search. Victor's determination suggests that when this situation reaches its peak, it will not be quiet or contained. And PHYLLIS is still watching all of it unfold, quietly waiting for the exact moment when she can insert herself into the chaos in a way that benefits her own agenda. By the end of this part of the week, one thing is becoming increasingly clear. Nothing in Genoa City is happening in isolation anymore. Nick's struggle is tied to Victor's control. PHYLLIS's plan is tied to the Newman instability. Lily's decisions are tied to Kane and Devon's concerns. And Claire's emotional journey is quietly intersecting with Holden's past. Everything is converging. And when that happens in Genoa City, the fallout is never small. As the week in Genoa City reaches its final stretch, everything that has been building emotionally, strategically, and secretly starts to collide. The calm surface that everyone tried to maintain is now completely gone. What remains is pressure, urgency, and decisions that cannot be undone. PHYLLIS Summers is now fully in motion with her plan. What started as quiet observation has turned into active positioning. She is no longer just watching the Newman chaos from a distance, she is ready to use it. With Victor Newman focused heavily on tracking down Matt Clark and managing multiple crises at once, PHYLLIS sees her clearest opening yet. And she intends to take it. There is a growing sense that PHYLLIS is setting up a trap, one that involves timing, leverage, and emotional blind spots within the Newman circle. She understands exactly when people are distracted, when they are vulnerable, and when they are too emotionally involved to see what's coming. But what PHYLLIS doesn't fully realize is that the situation she's stepping into is far more complicated than it appears. Because Matt Clark's presence, especially in his current condition of confusion and memory loss, is unpredictable. Every interaction carries risk. And any miscalculation could backfire in ways she may not anticipate. Meanwhile, Nick Newman is reaching a critical emotional point. His internal struggle is no longer something that can be hidden behind forced calm or short conversations. The pressure he's been carrying is beginning to show more clearly in his behavior, his focus, and his emotional stability. There are moments where Nick is dangerously close to giving in, not because he wants to, but because the weight of everything around him is becoming overwhelming. Stress, expectation, guilt, and personal pressure are all converging at once. Victor Newman is fully aware that this situation cannot be allowed to spiral. His response is firm and uncompromising. He is not only trying to protect Nick, he is also trying to protect the Newman legacy from any potential fallout. For Victor, this is about control, stability, and preventing any public or internal collapse. But control is not always enough when someone is struggling internally. Adam Newman continues to hover around the situation, sometimes offering pressure, sometimes probing for truth. His interactions with Nick remain tense, unpredictable, and emotionally charged. There is a sense that Adam is both observing and influencing the situation at the same time, even if indirectly. At the same time, Nikki Newman remains emotionally torn. Her decision to involve Jack Abbott has already widened the reach of Nick's situation, and now she is watching carefully as that information begins to influence decisions beyond just family concern. Jack's involvement adds a new layer of complexity. While he approaches the situation with concern, he is also aware of the broader implications. In Genoa City, no secret stays personal for long, and information like this always finds its way into larger strategic conversations. Elsewhere, Lily Winters is standing at a dangerous emotional crossroads. Her connection with Kane Ashby has deepened significantly, and what once felt like a difficult decision is now becoming an emotional commitment. Lily believes she is acting with purpose, trying to help, trying to save Malcolm, and trying to do what she feels is right. But Devon Winters sees the situation very differently. Devon's concern has now turned into serious warning signals. He understands that Lily's emotional involvement is clouding her judgment. The decisions she is making, especially involving Kane, carry real risk, legal risk, emotional risk, and long-term consequences that cannot be easily reversed. Despite this, Lily continues forward. Her bond with Kane is now undeniably stronger. Their shared history, emotional tension, and current circumstances are pulling them closer together in a way neither of them is fully resisting anymore. There is an emotional intimacy developing between them, subtle but powerful. Conversations become deeper, moments become more personal, and boundaries begin to blur. It's no longer just about the situation. It's about them. Meanwhile, Claire Newman's connection with Holden Novak reaches a turning point of its own. The emotional distance between them has significantly narrowed during their time in New York. Claire has now heard more of Holden's past, including his connection to Audra Charles, and that knowledge has changed the way she sees him. Instead of distance, she now feels understanding. Instead of curiosity, there is empathy. And instead of hesitation, there is emotional openness beginning to form. Holden, too, is showing a different side of himself, more vulnerable, more honest, and more willing to let someone in. Their connection is no longer casual or temporary. It is evolving into something that feels real, grounded, and emotionally significant. Back in Genoa City, Victor's manhunt for Matt Clark is reaching a more intense phase. The energy around this storyline is escalating, and it is becoming clear that Victor is preparing for a confrontation that will not be easily contained. When Victor focuses this deeply on a target, the outcome is rarely simple and often comes with major consequences for everyone connected. And PHYLLIS is right on the edge of stepping directly into that storm. By the end of the week, everything converges into a single emotional truth. Nick is on the edge of breaking. PHYLLIS is on the verge of executing her plan. Victor is tightening control over a dangerous situation. Lily is emotionally committed to a risky path. And Claire is beginning a new emotional connection that could change her future. Nothing in Genoa City remains separate anymore. Every storyline is now connected by pressure, emotion, and hidden consequences. And as always in The Young and the Restless, when everything converges like this, the fallout is only just beginning.